If it's just like this,
Yes, no? If you want full credit on today's quiz, we're going to take the quiz right after we do this while it's fresh in your mind. If you want full credit on the 10 questions that are on the quiz, and you want 10 points for this question, I need to see a formula for each question. I want to see the substitution. I want to see every little step, and for the last step, 20 what? The last point will be whatever the units are. Make sure if there's units, include them. When we get to chapters 11 and 12, surface area and volume, it makes a difference if you have centimeters, centimeters squared, centimeters to the third power. So get in the habit of doing that. Any questions on number 1? I'm pretty sure people know the basics for a squared, b squared, c squared. I'm putting c squared off to the left because that's how I taught the converse. So to get yourself in that frame of mind, try putting the c squared off to the left. Get in the habit of putting the variable. Don't just throw down an answer. Tell me what that is. Well, we're looking for x, so let's write x equals. X equals. Tim.
So the 40, say the 40 and 90, does it have to be in specific A or B stuff?
No, because what do we end up doing with them? We end up adding them. So A, B doesn't matter. The C matters. If you're confused about, if you're looking at a very complex diagram, you might want to point from the right angle to the hypotenuse. That's really the one that matters. This time, simplest radical form. Pay attention to directions on your quiz. That 85. X. To get full credits. Square root of 85 centimeters. Even though I'm not asking you to round in this section, do it anyways. Have an idea in your head of what radical 85 is. What's the square root of 81? 9. So what would you expect this to be? 9 point something. Why not 10? Because 100 has a square root of 10. So just by looking at it and figuring out perfect squares that are close to it, you can get an approximation or an idea of what the number is. So when I know that that's 9 point something, does that make sense as a possible x? Is it less than the hypotenuse? Yes. So don't just throw down a radical without knowing what it is that you're looking at. If you ended up with something that's more than 11, that doesn't make sense. There's my hypotenuse. Final step, square root. 104 is not in simplest radical form like 85 is. 85, I can't break down into anything useful. Can I break 104 into something useful? What definitely goes into 104?
84.
We want perfect squares. You got to be thinking of numbers like 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. What's 7 times 7? Does that go on forever? Yes. For smaller numbers, try to grab the largest one of these that goes into the number. Then you don't have to deal with your prime factorization method. Save that for much larger numbers. 4 times what? 26. Square root of x squared is x. Once you find the square root, don't give it another radical. That's what people are doing. And then they keep going. So I see people doing this. They do square root of 16 is the square root of 4, which is the square root of 2. Does that make sense?
No.
No. Once you do the square root, you've got a whole number there. What are my units? Kilometers. That will get you full credit. Showing me the formula, the substitution, the work, and the breakdown of the simplest radical form. On the test or the SOL test, I don't care how you do this. You do whatever works. On the quiz, I want to see everything so I can figure out where mistakes are being made. Page 2. What should I do to all of these before I even decide whether it's acute, obtuse, or right?
The two small ones.
30 plus 37, is that bigger than 50?
57, yes.
Yes. 12 plus 16, is that bigger than 19?
Yes.
Yes. 7 plus 40, greater than 41. 27 plus 36, greater than 45. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Here, what do I have to do with the... Get a decimal out of it. Approximate, that's multiplication, approximately 9.2. Is 4 plus 9.2 bigger than 10?
Yes.
Let's go back up here. The rule that I gave you was dependent upon putting the c squared all the way to the left. If you put it to the right, then you have a different set of rules. What should I put in for c? 50. Put the largest one in. You'll notice I don't know what the relationship is. The first time you do this, or the first couple times you do this, you're probably going to end up putting an equals down because you're so used to doing that. Resist that urge. 37. I'm getting greater than. What does that mean?
It's obtuse.
If you see something you don't like or you don't agree with, stop me. Maybe I made a mistake with arithmetic. I'm seeing 361 is less than 400. What does that mean? It's an acute triangle. When you write these things down, don't just churn on and move on to the next question. Actually think about what you did. What does an obtuse triangle look like? Well, it's got a big angle in it. What does an acute triangle look like? Well, it's got small angles, less than 90. Have a picture in your head. This is geometry, not just algebra. All the way. Need to see that for every question on the quiz. On the test, I don't care. But for this, show me the formula, then substitute, so I can see where things are going. It's greater than 1649. 8. And what does that mean? Greater than? Obtuse. These rules only apply if I've got the c squared off to the left. 45, 27, 36. Looks like I'm getting equals. What does that mean? All of these were set up small to big, small to big, small to big. Be careful. It's not always going to be lined up that nice and neatly for you. We used an approximation in number 10 to just determine whether it was a triangle. Don't use that when you're actually determining the type of triangle. We want to be exact as possible. What goes in for C in this problem?
10 squared.
10 squared, that's the largest. Then I have 4. I don't want to put in 9.2. I want to go back to 2 radical 21 squared. Keep it exact. What do I do with radicals and whole numbers that get squared? The 2 get squared. A radical being squared results in whatever number's inside the radical. That's 116 plus 84. Yep. And that's equal. And that's a right triangle. Yes?
When you do 4 times 21 and 35, do you have to put in parentheses?
You don't have to, but. Any questions on those? No matter how the questions are posed to you, they're going to result in something that looks like this. On your quiz, you might see some word problems. You might see some different phrasing.
Oh.
If I tell you that you have a rectangle, can everybody draw a rectangle? What if I tell you to find the diagonal? What's the diagonal?
Triangle.
Right? Diagonal might not be in your vocabulary. I don't know. That's the diagonal. Can you see how a right triangle might come out of that?
Yeah.
Pay attention to directions. Put everything away. For all the quizzes, that stuff's up on the side board. So, you have no excuses. This is for my other class. Eventually, all of this gets filled up with more right triangle work from chapter 7 until we hit the test. Afterwards, for the rest of the period, you're going to be working on sections 7.1 and 7.2 in your workbook. And I'm going to call people up to my desk. Have I talked to some people about recommendations? I don't think I talked to everybody yet.
Jordan, am I taking the quiz today?
What?
Am I taking the quiz today?
Yeah. And then, well, I don't have to kind of know what you're doing, then great. It's up to you. What you can do is you can either try this or you could go to the lab and watch the video of what you missed. Okay. Ten questions. How much is each one worth? Show all your work on here. If all you do is write down answers, you're going to get a 50. You can get everything right, you'll get a 50. Show me the work on the quiz. On the test, here. We have begun. Move forward, get the quiz taken frame of mind. Is there anybody absent besides? Have a picture? Draw a picture.